7 of the largest companies on the planet signed a promise, a simple promise. Their data centers for artificial intelligence would not raise your electricity bill. Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Meta, OpenAI, Oracle, xAI. On March 4th, 2026, their signatures went under a document, a presidential proclamation, later entered into the Federal Register. Now here's the part that doesn't add up. In the very region where most of these data centers sit, the wholesale price of simply keeping the lights on rose 9-fold over that same period. Not 9%, 9 times over. From $29 to $270 per megawatt day. A promise to protect your bill and a 9-fold increase. Same place, same time. How is that possible? It's easy to assume the answer is obvious. AI eats a staggering amount of energy. Data centers keep multiplying, demand keeps rising, so prices rise. So you pay. It sounds logical. And it's almost entirely wrong. Because if this were purely about AI's appetite, bills would rise everywhere this AI gets built. But they don't rise everywhere. That's where the story gets interesting. Texas. Over roughly the past 3 years, the state has welcomed one of the biggest data center booms in the country. Same AI, same server halls, same hunger for power. And prices for ordinary consumers there have stayed stable. Texas runs its own, separately structured grid with its own rules. That's not all. Researchers examined state-level data from 2019 through 2024. In some of the states where electricity demand grew the fastest, prices didn't rise. They fell. North Dakota, demand up 40%, while people ended up paying less. Same AI everywhere. In one place, the bill tripled. In another, it didn't move. And in a third, it went down. So this isn't about AI itself. It's about who decides who pays for it. To understand this, we need to look at a boring-sounding thing most people will never see in their lives. It's called a capacity auction. The grid is required to keep reserves, generators that switch on during the single most extreme day, the coldest cold or the hottest heat, even if they sit idle the rest of the year. Providers get paid in advance for that readiness. In a region called PJM, 13 states across the eastern US, from Illinois to Virginia, that readiness gets allocated through an auction. At the most recent auction, the price jumped from $29 to $270 per megawatt day. In some zones, it reached roughly $450. The regulator eventually set a cap at $329 to keep the process from spiraling completely out of control. Why did it jump? A massive new source of demand appeared on the horizon: data centers. And new power plants don't get built that fast. Little supply of future capacity, a lot of demand for it. The price takes off. And here's the key point that rarely gets said out loud. This more expensive capacity bill doesn't get billed separately to whoever created the demand. Under the current rules, it gets spread across every consumer in the region. By default, until a specific rule says otherwise, everyone with an outlet pays, alongside the data centers, for the new capacity they need. PJM's official independent market monitor, a company called Monitoring Analytics, calculated that roughly $23 billion in this region landed on people's bills because of data centers. The term they chose for it was cold and clinical, a massive wealth transfer. Now you're entitled to ask, what about the promise? 7 companies signed up to protect my bill. They did sign. The problem is one word: voluntary. This promise has no enforcement mechanism, no penalty, no oversight body to check and punish. It's a statement of intent, not a law. And the rule that actually decides who pays, the one about spreading the cost across everyone, the promise promise never touches it at all. That's why, in the summer of 2026, the White House is convening a second summit, an expanded one. Alongside the 7 tech giants, it's now inviting utility companies and the operators who lease data center space to them. The fact that just months after the first promise, a second, much broader conversation was needed says something about how well the first one worked. And since we're talking about the operators leasing out the space, here's the loophole everything drains through. Some data centers don't build their own capacity. They rent space from operators. That's called colocation. A company signed a nice promise about its own facilities, but the space it's renting under that promise might simply not count. Same demand, same bill, but the obligation slips right past it. On top of that, connection contracts are often structured so you pay for reserved capacity, even if you don't use all of it. A giant reserves headroom to grow into, and the grid, to guarantee that headroom, builds new lines. Who pays for that construction? Through the rate. Everyone. Again. Now let's drop from the level of auctions down to the level of your mailbox, where the bill actually arrives. Pennsylvania. Retail electricity prices rose 21.7% in 2025. Baltimore, an extra $17 a month for the average household. The town of Manassas, Virginia, and Virginia is the data center capital. Its data center alley pulls in about 40% of the entire state's electricity. There, some residents saw their bill jump from around $100 to $281. In Georgia, there are cases where unpaid, skyrocketing bills led to people having their homes taken away. That's not a line in a report anymore. That's someone's house. What comes next are projections. And here it matters not to pass off a model as a fact. These are estimates, not things that have already happened. The nonprofit NRDC estimates that by 2028, the average surcharge could reach around $70 a month, and that the nationwide data center bill could total between $100 and $163 billion by 2033. North Carolina State University scenarios put the increase at 6 to 29%, and as high as 57% in the extreme case. Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory estimates that by 2028, data centers could be drawing around 12% of all U.S. electricity. Again, these are models. Reality could land softer or harder. There's also a second wave that usually gets missed. If millions of households have an extra few dozen dollars pulled out of their monthly budget for electricity, that money doesn't go to stores, to cafes, to everything else. Goldman's analysts have built into their estimates that by 2027, this effect could shave roughly 6% off consumer spending. Also a projection, but the logic is simple. An electricity bill doesn't live in a vacuum. It gets subtracted from everything else. And now it's clear why this became politics. More than 300 bills in 30-plus states are trying to rewrite the exact same rule. Who pays for new capacity? The federal regulator, FERC, sent operators official show cause orders demanding an explanation. A resolution appeared in the Senate, introduced by Republican Senators Scott and Marshall, and the topic is already built into the 2026 elections as an argument for both sides. Notice what's actually being fought over. Not whether to build data centers. Those will get built either way. What's being fought over is one line in the rulebook. Spread the capacity bill across everyone, or bill it to whoever created the demand. The whole fight is over that one line. What this means for timing. Right now, the bill has already gone up, noticeably in some regions. Over the next couple of years, what decides the outcome isn't the technology. It's how these 300 bills and the FERC proceedings shake out. Lock in the rule that the source of demand pays and the curve flattens out for you. Leave things as they are and the surcharge keeps climbing along the projected paths. In the long run, there's even a scenario where it gets cheaper. If enough new generation gets built to serve this huge but stable demand, a surplus of capacity could eventually push prices back down. which appears to be exactly what happened in the states where demand rose and prices fell. But that's eventually, not right now. Let's go back to the promise we started with. 7 signatures on a promise to protect your bill and a 9-fold increase in that same region. There's no contradiction here. The promise was voluntary, toothless, and aimed at the wrong target. Your bill didn't go up because AI is hungry. It went up because an old rule decides who pays for that hunger. And that rule was written long before anyone started paying attention. And that, if you think about it, is actually good news. The technology can't be stopped or argued out of existence, but the rule can be rewritten. Right now, in 30 states, that's exactly what's happening. That same mechanic, one side builds, another side pays, is already quietly reshaping more than just your electricity bill. The water that cools these same data centers, the land, the grid connection itself as a scarce resource. Where this goes next is already on your screen.